Hello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room YXE. We are happening on June 30th, 2021. Coming to you live from Saskatoon. I'm Leslie,
I'm Johnny,
and this is episode number 22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
The
I
deuce
don't know
is
if anybody
loose.
cares if it's 22,
I care because,
23, 24. What does it matter?
I care. That's probably the longest I've ever done anything is 22 times.
We are a live show.
Yeah.
However, you can check out past episodes on No YXE YouTube channel and Facebook page. Hope everyone had a great week. We are having a heat
A
wave.
tropical heat wave.
And yeah, so just try to stay cool, drink lots of water, stay in the shade, yeah, stay out of the heat. Um, so we're going to go on to music news right away here. Tragically Hip have a new beer. And the band teamed up with Calgary based beer company, Big Rock Brewery, and came up with a beer called Lake Fever Lager.
Lake fever.
Yes, at
Hmm.
5%, Lake Fever Lager is described as a clean, uncompromised lager with a golden color. Available at select beer retailers across the country.
Sounds
So
like
go
every
check that
beer, but I
out.
will give it a
You're
try.
going to give it a try?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I'll try it too. I don't really drink
No,
beer,
you drink
but
about half a beer.
and then I'm loopy. Anyway,
Yeah.
also, Alex Lifeson has a new album and project called Envy of None, which also features our friend Andy
Yeah, I
Curran.
remember he was talking about that when he was on the show with us.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
And vocalist Maya Wynn. Alex Lifeson said it will be released hopefully late summer or early fall. The album is currently being mixed, and apparently, it's going to be a very interesting departure from the kind of playing we would expect from Mr. Lifeson. Andy Curran said, "Don't expect Rush or Coney Hatch." He said, "If you can picture maybe Massive Attack with a little bit of electronic stuff, with Nine Inch Nails influences, with this beautiful, fragile, sweet voice, and some very, very dark, heavy sounds."
I'll have some of that, please.
Rolling Stones bassist Bill Wyman's restaurant called Sticky Fingers is closing down after 32 years because of the COVID pandemic.
Wow, they call that. They actually say that the COVID virus is a sticky virus too.
Okay. I don't know how
I
that's
don't know.
connected.
Wow,
Bill's devastated.
sticky fingers.
Well, he is devastated that it had to close, but the COVID pandemic, he said, made it impossible to keep going. Sticky Fingers, which he named after the 1971 Rolling Stones album, was based on Wyman's favorite messy American style cuisine, including burgers and fries, sticky ribs, and
So,
fajitas. Sounds
something's not sitting right there with me because you'd think that he'd have a pretty deep,
pockets.
bankroll to go to.
Well, but if it
That
keeps
he's relying
losing,
on one. Is it a chain or is it just one restaurant
I don't. I think it's just one restaurant.
that he's relying on that? That it's that.
I
Oh my
don't
God, this is
know.
affecting my bottom line. I'm Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones. Oh my God, I can't afford to keep one restaurant open.
Well, maybe it's just a business that keeps losing money, losing, losing, losing.
Huh.
So, hopefully he can open another one when all of this settles down. This day in music history, 1967, Rolling Stone, Keith Richards. Do I even have to say Rolling Stone, Keith Richards? Just Keith Richards was found guilty of allowing his house to be used for the illegal smoking of cannabis. Oh my God. He was sentenced to 1 year in jail and a $850 fine. And Mick Jagger was also fined $170 and given 3 months in jail on drug charges. And then they were both released and granted bail on the following day. So they
Wow.
weren't in there long.
Oh my, how times have changed.
Yes. No.
uh, you know, um, when marijuana became legal, I would go to the pot store
Yeah.
and they would ask me for ID. And I was like, oh, sure, thank you for asking me for my ID. The next time I go, they're like, can I see your ID, sir? And I'm like, oh, you guys must really want me to keep coming back for asking for my ID. And then the next time I go, can I see your ID, sir? And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, we have to ask everybody.
Oh,
Every time they come
really?
here, I was thinking like maybe
You were looking all
maybe I
young
look
and
younger than 19,
yeah.
right?
All right, of
In my movie
course.
star mind, that's what I was thinking, right? But then an ironic twist of marijuana stories.
Yes.
I was out last night and I go to the store and the cashier says, "Would you like to become part of our VIP program?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, tell me about that. What is that all about?" "Well, you give us your email and we send you messages about sales and stuff. And we also have a seniors program." And I was like, "Oh, tell me about the seniors program." "Well, you save money on every purchase." And I said, I'd like that, please." And he said, "I need to see your ID." Ah, gotcha.
So they were checking to see
Yeah,
if
if I
you,
was actually old enough,
yeah. Oh my
and I
goodness.
was. Anyway,
But it's
sorry about
young.
that. Sorry
It's
about that.
still young.
It is.
A senior at 55 just does not seem like a senior. Anyways, let's move on. 1973, George Harrison returned to number one as a solo artist with Give Me Love, Give Me Peace on Earth. I love that song. He
Yeah,
always was
yeah.
just love,
It's like
peace.
a silent partner. He was just, yeah,
Yeah. Overtaking, that overtook ex Beatle Paul McCartney and Wings, who fell to number two with My Love.
yeah. Never one of my favorite McCartney songs. That one.
No, no.
Yeah.
Not,
Nice sentiment, but
it
just a really
is.
good
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. 1975, Cher married Greg Allman 4 days after divorcing Sonny Bono. She moved fast. 1975, Tim Buckley died of an overdose of heroin and morphine, aged 28.
Just pick one. Why do you need two?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, released 9 albums, including the 1972 release. Greetings from LA. Buckley is the father of singer songwriter Jeff Buckley.
Who also had an unfortunate
Yeah.
demise, right? So
Yeah,
sad story.
it is. 1979. American singer songwriter, multi instrumentalist, and producer Lowell George died of a heart attack. Right. Little Feat frontman was found dead at the Key Bridge Marriott Hotel in Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah.
George joined Zappa's Mothers of Invention as rhythm guitarist in 1968.
Such a rock and roll way to go. Like they find you dead at a
At a
hotel.
hotel.
Yeah.
1985, David Bowie and Mick Jagger recorded a version of the Martha Reeves and the Vandellas 1964 hit Dancing in the Street for the forthcoming Live Aid fundraising event. I remember when that happened too. I totally remember that day.
Yeah.
Anyway, the single went on to become a number one UK hit. The original plan was to perform a track together live, with Bowie performing at Wembley Stadium and Jagger at John F. Kennedy Stadium, until it was realized that the satellite link up would cause a half-second delay that would make this impossible unless either Bowie or Jagger mimed their contribution. And it was something that neither artist was willing to do.
you know, you know what's funny about that is that when I saw that, it was like, somebody made a video of the video of Bowie and Jagger, and it said without sound, like
Yeah.
without the song,
Yeah.
and so it was like the microphone, and you could
Oh,
hear them,
right.
kind of miming, like
Yeah.
and you could hear like
Yeah, feet shuffling
feet.
with.
It's hilarious. You
Yeah,
got
it
to
is quite
find
funny.
that on
It
YouTube and
is
watch
funny.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 1985, John Lennon. He sold, or he didn't sell it, but his Rolls Royce 1965 Phantom V limousine with the psychedelic paintwork on it sold for a record sum of $3,006,385 at a
Sold.
Sotheby's auction in New York.
Hmm.
Wowza. Birthdays. Just one birthday we're going to mention today is 1951. Stanley Clarke, American jazz fusion bassist, born in Philadelphia.
I think he's the slap in the bass pioneer.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
no
sure.
kidding. And it's worth mentioning, we wanted to mention just Blue, Joni Mitchell's
Right.
Blue, which came out, it was released June 22nd, 1971. 50 years
Still
ago.
not eligible for the seniors discount at the pot store.
All right, we're going to get on to our guests. We're so
Awesome.
excited to bring out our guest tonight. Wow, what a special treat we have for you guys. Our guest tonight is a fierce woman, a legendary Canadian rock vocalist and the past lead singer of multiple platinum band The Headpins. She's known as the Queen of Scream. Since then, she's gone on to have a very successful solo career. She toured in 2018 in support of her release with the Darby Mills Project. And we're going to find out what she's up to now because she's a force to be reckoned with. So please welcome to the Green Room YXE, Darby Mills. Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
guys.
Hey, Darby. Oh my God. So
Hello.
awesome seeing you.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for being on.
Yeah.
So you're in Vernon, right now?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still hotter than Haiti out there, or what's going on?
I think it's 41 degrees in my backyard.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, when I heard it was yesterday or the day before, it was 46 or something, like without the humidex. It was just that strikes a bit of fear in
Well,
me and anybody.
The fires have started, and I have a dill plant, or I had a dill plant in the backyard that I was so proud of that is now just kindling. So it's killing. Yeah, it's killing my garden.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh
what
my
can
God.
you do?
Yeah, I know.
Right. Hey, so we'd like to, on our, if you can call this a show, can we call this technically a show?
Yes, of course it's a show. What else would you call
we
it?
kind of like to, just be conversational and talk and, get to know you and hear your story and, share things along the way because as far as a Canadian musician goes, you have a very interesting story and very unique. But we like to go back to, how it all started for you. And, the bulk of our research, or practically all of our research, comes from what we can find on the internet. So your bio is very, it's quite a story. And the one thing that I particularly liked reading about was the enchantment that you had of your father singing songs on the beach when you were a kid.
Love that.
And
oh my
just
God.
how even people across the lake could hear that and how that was.
And people applauded.
That really did that sort of open your eyes and think, you said you loved your dad and that had a real impression on you. Did it make you kind of think like, I want to do that sort of thing? I want to have that impact on people?
That's exactly what it did. It was the applaud from the other side of the lake right after he'd finished singing that it was like, that's kind of cool. People are digging you, Dad. That's cool. So yeah, it's what started it all for sure.
Yeah. And so as life is, your father passed in January. Is that from COVID?
He did. He was in a care home, and unfortunately, we'd not seen him for the better part of the year since March, since everything shut down. And a couple weeks after Christmas, after holidays, and people letting down their guard a little bit, it got into the care home, and I'm not sure how many people they lost, but I heard it was well over 50 people that were infected with COVID at the time. So
well, that's
we're so sorry.
We are very sorry for your loss, especially after the story about the songs on the beach. And and in the same sort of context, Leslie, her dad was a professional musician, a trumpet player, and he just passed. June 10th, was it?
June 10th.
June
Yeah.
10th, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know how much dads our fathers, your father singing, like that musical, and just thinking about my dad and just music, like that's what he gave me, and it's, you just realize how much they impact your life and,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just loved reading that story about your dad. It's awesome. Yeah.
Anyways, well, God bless them both.
Yeah. So you started out quite young, being already very disciplined and very driven with your figure skating. And wow.
I'm not sure if it was discipline or if it was the whip, but but yeah, you had to be. I skated from the time I was, I don't know, probably grade 7, maybe 6, skating in the summers. So I would do 1 month in the summer where I would be at the arena from 6 o'clock in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. And that's just what you did. It was a community, and of course they're testing. And the fact that your parents are paying for your lessons and all that stuff, so you needed to be continuing to go up the ladder and do your tests. I was lucky enough to place well enough as a 15-year-old that I was chosen to go and skate at the Karen Magnuson Summer School in the North Shore of Vancouver at 15. So that was great. I had the experience of skating with some fantastic skaters that made me realize that I don't have a future and I don't have, as a figure skater, that ain't gonna happen. Plus at 15 you were already old, so that's fine. That's when I started singing with the band in my parents' basement, and yeah, here I am today.
Yeah. Well, I think though that with all that training, what were
Well,
you?
I was gonna say that's the figure skaters, though. Like I've been known to watch some figure skating, mostly because you have the remote control.
I always had the remote control.
But you know that they've got to feel the music and the rhythm, and the timing is largely based on the songs that they're skating to. So
That's true.
that probably unknowingly had some influence on you with your rhythm and cadence and just the way you would move,
And
probably.
movement. Yeah, for sure. No
Well,
kidding.
I did excel more as a dance partner. I won some tournaments and stuff with my male dance partner very young, and then started doing a free skate dance with a gentleman when I moved to Edmonton later on, and that didn't work so well. But definitely the dance was it was what I preferred to do. You weren't just falling on your butt as often. Not that my butt didn't suffer. I mean, figure skaters have the hardest butts going, so they spend so much time falling on it. But
Right.
yeah, music was. I would bring my favorite tunes down, and every once in a while, the mom at the controls of the music would let me put my tunes on, and I usually got yelled at by the old grouchy pro going, "What kind of crap are you listening to?" So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know why I'm full of analogies tonight, but it's like when you talk about being a figure skater and falling on your butt and getting back up and doing it again, falling on your butt and getting back up and doing it
mm,
again. It's like anyone who has drive and determination, like sometimes those videos will just pop up in your feed somewhere where it's a kid trying to learn how to ride a skateboard and he's just wiping out all the time. And then
right. I've seen
finally,
that one.
yeah, and finally he does it, right? And you're like, yeah, and it's like never give up, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's
that
true.
spirit obviously, and it's a common theme with people like you who are that driven that they want to do something, that they just keep doing
To
it, and
keep
it's and
doing it.
that spirit is what sort of compels me to keep playing music
Yeah,
and just doing
yeah.
it. So
But it's the same with just training too. It's that discipline. It's knowing that if you want to get good at something, you've got to keep at it and keep doing it day in day out. So I mean, you had that training, I think, early on, just with just knowing setting those goals, and with even figure skating or anything that anybody does, setting those goals and then just kind of knowing how to get there. you know
What you're really saying is being accepting of failure.
well, yeah,
yeah, no kidding.
That's what
Yeah,
you're really
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
yeah.
That failure doesn't make you quit.
No,
Nope.
Hopefully, you
no.
continue going. So,
There's
Yeah,
another.
yeah, you're right. There's a little bit of that in figure skating for sure, because you are on your butt a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
or at least
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was. Yes.
yeah, and then it's like what success has 1,000 fathers and failure has none.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Failure is an orphan.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
Yeah, failure's an
Yes.
orphan, right?
yeah,
Okay, so I love the story too of you being thrown the lyrics for "Crazy on You"
oh yeah.
because Ann Wilson is obviously one of the
Powerhouse. Yeah,
preeminent female voices of our lifetime, and you get out there and sing that song. Um,
That was a rehearsal, right? Like it was you were at rehearsal and then some dude was singing it and you're like, dudes don't sing Crazy on You. And you're like,
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, what I was grade 10. Yeah, grade 10, Valley View Junior Secondary, and my high school buds were in a band, and it was kind of new, kind of sort of, but they had enough songs together and they were starting to get shows. And we got invited over, some of my girlfriends and I got invited over to watch them practice in his bedroom in the basement. And yeah, they were playing songs, and then went into Crazy on You, which I was a huge fan of the Dreamboat Annie album. And yeah, I was just giggling at him singing a female song, being a stupid, like 16, 17-year-old. And he said, yeah, you know what? Then you sing it. You think you can do better. And I'm like, fine, I will. And lo and behold, yeah, a month later, they had their first show and they said, do you want to come sing Crazy on You with us in 100 Mile House? It was. And so we set off in 2 cars, and 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds with gear loaded in the in the where you put your feet, and on the roof. And of course one car overheated and we had to stop and wait an hour for it to cool down. And it was just the typical, we're kids
mhm.
in a rock band and we're going to play a gig at a high school. It was all of the above. And I sang the song, left the stage, and went, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, awesome.
wow. And then you just went, the thing that I find so amazing is that after you graduated, then you went off on it was your own, right? You went to Calgary, you played in bands, you went to Vancouver, played in bands, went back to Calgary to play in band. Like you just played in a ton of bands, like you just went out on your own, right? And just went like, oh, I gotta go and do this.
Yeah, I loaded up my Gremlin and moved to Calgary.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and ended up working at a record store because the bands weren't really paying off, so had to get the day job, and then landed an audition in Edmonton about a year and a half into moving to Calgary, with a seven-piece African American band from Harlem. And there was 40, 50 people auditioned, and lo and behold, I got the gig. So now I'm Donna Summers and Anita Ward, um, doing dance steps on stage and playing disco nightclubs. Um, for some reason, they thought I could handle it. So I'm grateful, because it was because of that that I ran into the band that I was in before Headpin saw me, which is a Victoria-based band called Steelback that played
Yeah.
in the 80s, early 80s. And they went on to continue playing after I left. But so, go with the flow, and just keep your eyes open and the doors open. And that led to me a year later being hired by Brian McLeod in the Headpins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Hey.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that was a shift from kind of the R&B thing that you were doing to rock and
Disco.
roll, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was disco.
To
I
rock and
was
roll.
doing
Yeah.
disco.
Disco,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
but I wanted to be a rock and roll singer. I mean,
Yeah.
the band was wonderful, and I actually have a CD of me singing in that band that was sent to me about 2 years ago by one of the wives of the guitar player. And Business Before Pleasure was the name of the band. So
yeah,
I listened to it just recently, and yeah, 20 years old. Yeah,
wow.
Wow. Hey. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
something else to hear the voice before it was beaten
Yeah. So,
beaten by Turn It Loud and people. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about your voice a little later, but so you and then you went on. This was pre Steelback, right? That you were going across the street to see Steelback playing while your other
Yes.
band was playing, and they got you up to sing, and then they kind of asked you to join the band, and it was more suited to what you wanted to do, so you obviously went and did that. Um,
I did.
but you have so many. Your whole career is just full of so many rock and roll sort of
cliches.
Well, almost
Yeah.
cliches, but there's same sort of tragedies like trucks rolling and
Yeah,
stuff
like
like
what?
that. You know,
Oh my
were you
gosh!
in that vehicle when that happened?
No, we were not. The band
Okay.
had a 1-ton and a van, and I was in the van. The crew, the 2-man crew, was in the truck, and we're coming into just outside of Hope on the old highway, because the Coquihalla Highway, you might not know that, but it wasn't
Oh
built
no,
yet. So it was
no,
a 7-hour drive
we were
instead of a
we've
4-hour
been
drive
around.
to
We
Vancouver. Sorry?
Yeah, we remember. We're old enough to remember the Coquihalla
Oh yeah,
opening.
for
We were
sure.
so
Coming
excited to drive
together.
it the first
Yeah.
time, right? Yeah. So
But so we were on the old highway, and the gear truck had pulled over to wait for us onto a soft shoulder that they didn't realize was soft. And the truck just slowly just did this. And
Oh man.
as we were driving by, 5 minutes later, we see our 2 crew guys standing on the side of the road with no truck. And we're like, what are you guys doing? And
What's
and
happening?
they're like, it's down there. What's down
yeah,
there? The truck. And all we could
yeah.
see was 6 wheels turning,
Oh
because it was
wow.
upside down. But
Yeah.
the gear was packed so tight. When the tow truck came from Hope, they flipped the truck over onto its wheels, hooked it up, and then slowly brought the truck. It was probably a 20-foot drop that it rolled
Wow.
down. It was such a soft shoulder that it was just a boom,
Yeah.
Yeah.
boom, like that. So they pulled it up. They had 3, 4 of us. I wish I had these pictures. We did get some standing on the bumper of the tow truck, because it was about 4 feet off the ground, because our truck was so full, packed so tight, that when they got it back up onto the street and it went and landed, we could kind of slide the back door open. And the only thing they broke were 2 or 3 gels off the par cans that bands used to have to carry back then. You used to
Yeah.
have to carry your own PA
Yeah.
and your own lights and your own board. It changed about 5 or 6 years later, thank goodness. So
Yeah.
bands didn't have to invest their life and the next 4 lives worth of income into buying a PA and supplying everything that now the clubs have
Yeah.
in-house.
And wondering why you're hungry.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
right, no time to eat. That's why we
Yeah.
were all so skinny back then. You didn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
eat.
You
It
didn't
wasn't
need to.
something you had time for or money for that
Nope.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you were sort of scouted then by Brian Too Loud McLeod. He'd
I
heard of
guess,
you. He'd
yeah.
heard of you and came to see you and called you and offered you a spot in this new band. And
Yeah. Well, I had sorry, go ahead.
the way you sort of described it is you signed with the Headpins.
Oh,
Was it?
absolutely. I got kind of pulled by the ear into a lawyer's office and told, sign the contract or have no career. So
Wow.
I signed the
Okay.
contract.
This is where I've got to read what you said in your.
Well, to me, first of all, that's like sort of red flag.
Yeah, probably.
But anyways,
So 5 years. You described it as 5 of the most incredible, invigorating, self-finding, mind-blowing, skill-developing, heartbreaking, and discouraging years were to follow. Nothing is as it seems, as I found out. Yet, how much would I give? How much would it take? That was question. Contracts, lawyers, managers, studios, buses, planes, hotels, even friends can and do all have their own agenda. A thick skin and endless conviction is a must if you want to survive here. Love that.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah, it's pretty much the music business,
No kidding.
right?
And you had three albums.
A 3-album deal,
Yep.
and that's like 81 was the first album. 81.
81. Well,
81.
we were signed with Solid Gold and in Canada, and then we got signed to Atco Records in the States for the release of Turn It Loud. But unfortunately, even though we were starting to get some much music, had just MTV had just kind of started at the time, and so we were getting a little bit of viewage on there, but the label didn't get our records into the music stores until well after we'd gone double platinum here in Canada. So we kind of missed the wave on that one. And so being unhappy with the way ATCO dealt with that, we signed with MCA in California, and then Solid Gold Records went insolvent in Canada, and then we signed. That's when we signed with MCA, and Solid Gold was then out of the picture, and then, and well, how many? Yeah, it goes on and on and on and on, and
Well,
sometimes I forget the lineup. It's pretty convoluted.
it does go on, and I sort of watched that happen. But to me, what I for some reason, looking back now, with that future lens, looking at the past, I was up late last night and I watched the Headpins live in Dortmund on YouTube, and the music videos, and of course the albums that we listened to this week, and we're like, what happened? Because this should have been like ginormous. It's hard for me to think of another band from Canada that had that much potential. You had
Yeah.
Brian Cloud, who's a already established songwriter, with his career in music, and you, who are just like
Powerhouse.
Yeah. And a solid band. You watch the live Dortmund stuff on YouTube, and I asked people here tonight that are listening, just go watch that and just see the majesty and how good that was, and I just gotta go like, what happened? And then you read about all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and it's like, what do you think was the major thing that prevented international rock superstardom? And by no measure am I saying that you haven't achieved that, because your career is epic to begin with, but I just think you guys could have been huge.
Well, breaking up makes it pretty hard to move on. That's number one. But
within the time frame of you guys having, platinum albums in Germany and Japan and all that going on, Kiss and Whitesnake and ZZ Top and all that stuff.
The band did what the band does, and we did it to the best of our ability, and management needs to do what management does, and the labels need to do what the labels do. And if everybody gets it right, you still sometimes don't make it. So what I think we needed better songs. I think when we came out with Turn It Loud, we were different. We were kind of like scratching nails on a blackboard. We were the squeaky wheel because we were so different. But as we went on, the labels were very focused on making money, and it's a business, it's the music business. And so it became, write singles, write hits. And right now hits are softer than the Headpins' first album. And also McLeod wrote so well with Bill Henderson, and those songs were not hard rock songs, if that's what you classify the Headpins. I don't know what you classify the Headpins as now that music has gone in so many directions. I don't think we were hard rock. At the time we might have been, but now I just think we're classic rock. Just Canadian classic rock is suits me fine as a title or a moniker. So just a bunch of pieces of the puzzle had to come together, and radio changed, and internally, there's 5, 6, 7, 10 people that are in a bus together, or in the studio together, or live next door to each other, and sometimes you just don't see eye to eye, and sometimes you get over that, and sometimes you don't get over it. So we're all human beings with their own opinion, and in the end, my opinion, I think, got me fired. So it's okay. On, like you say, onward. what else am I going to do? It's a passion. It's so nice when your passion is something that you love and are willing to give up
Hmm.
a
Yeah.
lot of other things for. And that's, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just something that should be touched upon because so many, of the younger generation like to think like, I wrote a song, I should be a star, right? And
Yeah.
instant gratification kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like there are so many pieces to to the puzzle, and then you throw in, time, right?
Mm,
The
yeah.
timing is so important, and if like Darby said, if one person drops the ball,
Yeah.
shit goes south, right? So
Absolutely.
it's a matter of good management, good business, and timing,
Yeah.
and a bit of luck, right? And
And a lot of
persistence.
luck, a lot of
Yeah,
luck.
A lot of
yeah,
luck.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right place,
So
right time. Yeah.
Yeah.
build a solid team around you of people you can trust.
Yeah. But it's interesting too what you're saying, Darby, about that first album having that sound that was so different. And I think that, a lot of bands end up doing that. Before they start making albums, and especially when they make albums for record labels, uh, making that first album is kind of hopefully your sound. It's a little different. I read something recently about writing music. It's either art versus entertainment. You're either doing it for yourself, just growing yourself as an artist, or you're trying to write hits and for other people.
Yeah.
And I think that it's hard to not get caught up in that for sure as a band. And again, you have different personalities. Uh, after that first album, when you've got something different, that's why it takes off, because people are like, "Wow, I've never heard anything like this before. This is amazing." And then you get caught into that machine where you do have people telling you, "Well, this is what you should do," and we've heard people tell us same thing, like, this is what you should be doing next or whatever. And it's like it gets in your head. And it's tough. It's tough to turn all of that off and to just kind of,
Well,
kind of,
and then there's the pen and paper that's involved. You have the responsibility of paying back the money that's been invested. And told this story just last weekend, or not story, or shared these facts with another interview that I was doing, and I didn't realize this. I was probably 5, 6 contracts into my career when it was made plain to me that on a record, what you have, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar today, but I'm speaking for when I was signing contracts back in the early 80s. A record has 100 points, which is basically 100% for the layman musician. And the band, such as the Headpins, first time out, would be lucky to get 6, maybe 7% of the overall recordings profits, or
yeah,
the circulation of money. It's not always profit.
Hmm.
And so what happens is that in the old days, the label you're signed to would buy the tour jackets, and they'd pay for the tour bus, and they'd um, shoot a video for you, and then sometimes you'd get advances. For a while the Headpins were on advances, and pay for the record and the producer and all the rest that go along with it, which is wonderful because it's not costing you anything. But that's the big myth.
Right.
Every penny that record company spends, you have to pay back, and you're not paying it back out of that 80 or 96%, or you're paying it back out of your, as I had in the Headpins, 1%.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh yeah, and they'll wine and dine you and buy the most expensive bottles of
But
wine.
you're paying for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
and
didn't
then
I didn't realize that until the third or
yeah.
fourth deal, when it was made painfully clear to me. How can we be double platinum for Turn It Loud, and yet we still owe,
Yeah.
and I'm just pulling a number here, $250,000. How is that? It's like, well, because you haven't made $250,000. The record company has. You've
Yeah.
only made $15, and you got to
Right.
pay that back out of your $15.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah. So
course,
and you look at it like in a sense of like, so they buy you a bottle of wine that costs $1, right? And out of all the money that's earned because of your headpins or Darby or whoever, you pay back that dollar bottle of wine 6 cents on the dollar, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's not a fair deal.
No, no,
No.
it's not at all.
but I don't
Absolutely.
think I don't think you can name me. I don't think you can name me an artist that hasn't got that story.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just the way the business works, and publishing, what you get paid for spins and plays and downloads. It's criminal. It's criminal. And
It is.
I've heard there is a group of people right out now trying to fight to have, after so many years, the artists retain the rights to their music. Because, I mean, even the Beatles, Michael Jackson owned the Beatles catalog. I mean, that's asinine, right? But that's
Mhm.
just the business, right or
Mhm.
wrong. It's and an artist such as myself, yeah, it doesn't matter how strong you are or stubborn, there's not a lot you can do to fight that.
No,
Yeah.
and the experiences we had,
Yeah.
that we wouldn't have had it not been for a major label.
Yeah. Oh,
Seen
for
the things
sure.
we've seen, done the things we did
Yeah.
because of that team behind you. But I mean, they got to pay all these people that are working for you. So I mean, in a sense, it is kind of understandable. But when you at the end of the day, when you get to the bottom line, and that's when the musician would get paid, gets paid last, right? You're like,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, and not having the rights to your music, you sell that off to become a staff writer, or just so that you've got a publishing company collecting your money, but that costs money to have them collect your money. And
Mhm.
if you get an advance, of course, that comes off with interest as you wait for yeah. It's just a big loop of, this is how you're not going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Unless lightning strikes, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
But
buying a lottery ticket, basically.
but looking back, I mean, you probably had like you have had a life that not many people can say they've had. You've done things that people are still curious about and want to hear stories about, and look to you like, wow, that's just so awesome that
Hmm.
you did that. You know, um, you were nominated for a Juno Award. You've been nominated for a star on the Canada's Walk of Fame. So I think you can put yourself back a little bit.
Well, just yeah, I'm just curious to know because everything got once you were in the head pins, it was just like, like real fast, right? Did it feel at the time just like what's happening? What is going on?
Well, all that stuff you're talking about, everything basically that we've been talking about, happened in a 4-year period.
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
years.
High school.
Everything else has been past that.
Yeah.
The original Headpins was from the first recording to letting me go at the end of 85 was 4 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Wow.
I was 21, 22, 23, 24. If I knew then what I know now, I'd
Right.
have
Yeah,
been
no
fired
kidding.
sooner.
I was gonna say though, you were speaking your mind though, right? And that's what you
Yeah.
got into
Yeah.
trouble for.
You were
Like
ahead of your
you were
time.
ahead of your time. You probably
Yeah.
saw things that were going on that you thought like, I mean, I'm just maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but maybe you saw things like what is this? What is going on here? And you weren't allowed to, were you not allowed to have a voice or an opinion or because you were
Well, the only female, and the youngest. And granted, there was a lot of stuff I did not know. McLeod and Ab had been in the business, and through labels and through different recording acts, so they had experience that I did not have. But yeah, there were things that, um, after a while, that's not me. I can't do that. I disagree. And that was just not the way to be when you have someone who's, the head pins. Brian was at the time his everything. He left Chilliwack for the headpins. And strangely enough, we had uber success opening for Toronto on the Lock Up Your Sons tour, and Brian Abb weren't there. You know, it was myself and the B team kind of thing. So we had something with or without them. Although it was Brian's songs, it was a team. It was a team effort, and if you want to keep a team together, everybody, this is my opinion, needs to feel appreciated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. No kidding. It's not going to go very far, because the whole point is the reason why you're all working together as a team is you should be able to assume that everybody's valued, or they wouldn't be there in the first
And
place.
a common goal, a common goal.
Yeah.
Where everyone reaps the benefits, right? So,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
So
In a perfect world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm always curious when I see, you know, the list of bands that some people have played with and opened for and stuff like that. Out of those bands like Aerosmith, Whitesnake, ZZ Top, that whole era, like who did you have the most fun with?
My favorite tour ever was Whitesnake. Because we were in Europe, we were going through Germany, we were playing massive venues that were always sold out. And every day I saw John Lord, Cozy Powell, John Sykes, David Coverdale, Neil Murray. You know, it was every day it was a dream, just walking into the arena going, I'm standing in the light of heroes.
Yeah.
You know, superstars. So that was incredible. And we were in a different country, which was the first for me to go over to Europe. So and that was a crazy tour. They were crazy boys, and yeah. And probably, yeah, you didn't ask me my least favorite, so I won't volunteer that information. I'll keep that to myself.
We would like that too.
The door is now open, and we're longing here. We're waiting here.
Damn, see how I get myself into trouble? Least favorite, I hate to say it, although I don't, was ZZ Top. Even though some stuff on that tour happened that goes down in the history books for me as the most incredible thing to ever happen, the oppression that happened on that tour, if I can use that word in this climate today, maybe I shouldn't, that's unfair, but the unfairness that happened on that tour from host band to backup act was very relevant, very apparent with ZZ Top.
Wow. Hey, yeah.
And strangely enough, they treated us with the least respect of any act I've toured with, and yet it was me defending them that got me fired. Now, isn't that ironic?
Wow.
Well, it was partly what got me fired, but that was the conversation that was happening when it ended.
Right.
Wow. Hey.
Wow. Well, as I told you pre-show, we have a couple of sponsors. We're going to read some ads, but before we do that, I just want to know, let's leave this segment here with like your pinnacle moment in your career to date. Where did you go? Like, you know, like when you think back and you think like that was the most awesome night, that was the most awesome show, the day, you know, everything was like just.
Well, probably any show with the Whitesnake tour, but the biggest, besides singing "O Canada" on the 25th birthday for the Queen, and then taking out Anne Murray literally on the way off the stage in front of all the cameras.
What?
I'll have to look for video on that.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll get on the phone.
It probably exists in the archives, that's for sure.
Somewhere, yeah.
that was a wonderful moment. I took a breath that moment after singing "O Canada" with the crew that was singing it, and just observed the 150, 60,000 people that were in the Parliament grounds watching that day, knowing that all of Canada was watching, because it was a big event. It was,
Right.
I think it was the 125th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
But probably my favorite night would have been on the ZZ Top tour, sitting or standing in the dressing room after our show, which they would not give us an encore. And that was at the height of the Headpins' popularity here in Canada. And we would finish the show, and the house lights would come on immediately. And the crowd every night booed. But this particular night, and I can't remember if it was Quebec City or Montreal, but we were playing an older Coliseum where there were wood rafters, and we were in the dressing room, having left the stage, going, man, that was such a good show. I wish they'd give us an encore. Things started falling out of the ceiling and onto our open food deli trays, right? It's like, what the heck? And the crowd was stomping on the bleachers so hard that they were knocking the asbestos, I'm sure is what it was, off the piping on this 2-story dressing room.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was so loud, we thought they were going to riot.
Wow.
And I remember thinking I'd give up an encore for this feeling any night, because
absolutely
they were ferocious to get us back on stage. We did not get back on stage. And furthermore, we did 2 shows in Vancouver for our last shows on that tour, and we were supposed to go off and do the American tour with them. And we were in Calgary, had a night's drive to Vancouver, and then 2 shows in Vancouver, and Calgary was also our biggest draw in all of Canada. It was like our hometown. We finished the show, and back then you still lit your lighter. You didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
You lit your lighter to get an encore, and the stadium literally lit up. There wasn't an empty hand in the house. It was so bright. It was just like, are you kidding me? This is incredible. And we're walking down the stage, the stairs from the stage, and it was a long walk back to the dressing room. And it's like, you know what? They're not turning on the house lights. The crowd has gone so crazy that in Calgary, they're finally giving us an encore. So we ran back to the stage, and I might be wrong with this, but timing wise, it makes sense. I think we went into the song People, which is a 9-minute song. I'm sorry, my puppy's having it. Sorry. So, and left the stage after People, and the crowd went wild, and we walked into our dressing room, and seconds later you hear the door slam, and our road manager, whose name was Joe Jackson, screaming in obscenities at the top of his lungs, and we're like, what is going on? And so sorry.
That's Joe Jackson now.
Yeah. He got pulled aside by their road manager, and the reason why the house lights didn't go on is because the headset intercoms had gone down, and they couldn't get the house lights turned on. So we took the show 7 or 8 minutes over schedule, which means they would have to pay the union fees of overtime. Of course, taking out a song from their set was not a feasible solution. So we cost them money, and in doing that, lost the American tour.
Oh my God.
That's how proud.
Yeah, what would have been of the Headpins had we done that tour? Yeah.
Yeah, so here what you think is a fortunate sort of thing turns out to be like a dagger.
Misfortune.
Yeah,
misfortune.
It was bad. But I got canned 2-3 days later, and within a month, Ab, the bass player, had been flown down to Australia to play with a band called Jimmy Barnes, who ended up getting the ZZ Top tour in the States. So Ab got to do the tour. We didn't, but Ab did.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So is
Yeah,
this
right.
is this pre, like, she's got legs? Is this pre Eliminator, that tour?
It was the spaceship. That's all I remember. The logo. Wait a minute. I got the backstage pass on my wall here. Afterburner.
Afterburner.
It was
That
the
was after
Afterburner tour.
that was after Eliminator then, wasn't it? I don't really know the
Yeah,
I know
yeah, I
the
don't know
early
the
ZZ Top
yeah.
chronology, but not so
85.
much.
1985.
Right. Yeah. Let's
Okay,
get
well,
going.
we had our
Our producer just whispered in our ear that our internet connection is kind of
that we're a
wacky. We're
little,
breaking
yeah,
up. Are we good now, Ian?
are we breaking up?
We're back
Okay,
now.
good.
All right. Darby, we're just going to read a couple of sponsors'
Just
messages.
some
So
shout out to some sponsors here.
they probably will take, I don't know,
2 minutes.
2
I
minutes,
think.
maybe?
Yeah.
Nah, not even. Anyways, here we go.
All right.
What are we doing first?
You
go first.
Okay, the Green Room we're giving a shout out to our first sponsor, Field Fox Gardens and Cookery. Field Fox Gardens and Cookery is a food preparation and delivery service in Saskatoon. They are 100% gluten-free and organic and only use quality ingredients found close to home. Field Fox has just launched beef lasagna in 2 sizes. They are proud to partner with Saskatchewan beef producers in this carefully prepared classic meal that is delivered frozen for your convenience. In the coming days and weeks, the menu will grow to include more choices of frozen prepared meals to suit every lifestyle. Their products are soon to be featured at Sask Made Marketplace, which only sells the best local goods. So please visit fieldfox.ca to order your lasagna and sign up for the newsletter to be notified as the menu expands. And order that lasagna. It's awesome. We've had it and it's delicious.
Yes, sign up for the email. That's so
That's right.
important for small businesses. Email is more important than you may think.
Yeah.
And our second sponsor tonight, Christy Weiss, BBA Bookkeeping and PST Consulting Service, bringing balance to your and Christy can provide efficient and accurate bookkeeping at reasonable rates. She can also help you navigate our PST system, making sure you don't end up owing more than you thought. And apparently that happens a lot with small businesses.
It does, and they get
dinged.
They
right?
get dinged.
Check out ChristyWeiss.com or Christy Weiss BBA on Facebook. Thank you, sponsors.
Thank you.
And thank you, Darby Mills, for hanging out with us. So you
and we are back.
We're back. Are you cool? You cool for a little bit more here? Because we really want to talk.
I got some time.
Cool.
Okay,
I don't have any work, so.
Okay. Yeah, which is like, so the Darby Mills project, 2018, kind of launches. That gets going, and I'm sure you would have been doing gigs this last 17 months. But did that sort of, again, is this another thing that sort of has gone like, oh my God, here I go again?
Well, I actually started the band in 2016. We did our first show in September of 2016. And every year we were slowly building so that we could actually pop up and break some glass ceilings. And 2020 was the year, I was saying prior to 2020, it's the year of perfect vision. I was wrong. I had no idea I'd end up shutting the band down for 16 months, or well, and it was pretty clear. So yeah, it was a real disappointment to not be able to pull off the shows that we had been invited to. Some of the shows I was told I would never play again because of my my exiting. So yeah, it sucked
was there that threat of you exiting? When you say you exiting, was that the headpins that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had that. Yeah, we had a conversation once we were talking about that. how you couldn't, there's certain gigs that you couldn't play because of all of that. Like,
Politics,
yeah,
politics,
yeah.
politics. I
So
was no
you
longer part of the agency that booked the headpins, and so there was a conflict of interest to hire me or to hire the headpins because they were still working, or they were still working. So, um, yeah, I,
Wow, was
yeah,
a
but that was the choice I made in leaving. I knew that I would be fighting from grassroots up again, and it was okay because I had sat down with my husband and we'd had many, many long talks about, are you going to get back into the industry with me? Will you, can we form a team? Are we going to be able to communicate back and forth as a well-oiled machine, even though we're married? And we made the commitment to each other to make this our lives. He's older than I am, and I am now past 60. So how many years do either of us have left? And almost lost him 3 times in about a 4-year period. And that's what sparked me taking the wheel and driving myself was in 2014, actually, my mom passing away. And then 6 months later, my husband, Brian, had a heart attack in our house, and I called the ambulance from where I was. And by the time I got home, the ambulance was in the house. He was on the gurney, and they put him in the ambulance, and he flatlined. So they broke 10 ribs, um, bringing his heartbeat back, and he spent the next 3 weeks in the hospital. 2 years later, something else happened with a gallbladder attack, and he went septic, and he spent 3 weeks in the hospital, almost died. And then a year and a half later, something else happened, and he spent 3 weeks in the hospital and almost died. And he got out a day before we drove to Vancouver to record the live album that you just showed a cover of. He was down almost 30 pounds and could barely walk, but he was not going to miss it. And so I'm not sure where this started, actually. I'm sorry. I went down a memory lane and
Yeah.
lost track of
that
what we were
No,
talking
that's
about.
great.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
The-
I want to talk about Brian, because you met Brian during the whole crazy time, right? Like, you guys have
He
been
was a
together for a very long
co-manager of the
time.
Headpins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys are total team. Like, it's awesome. Just
Well,
battling this
we were on the
industry.
same team, and
Yeah.
then he left the business because his old agency wasn't happy about him being a force to reckon with, right? So there was the the politics involved in, and coming from the massive agency that he was part of before, they had the power and the ability to make life very difficult. It's the music business, and you win or you lose, and just like life, every time you get back on that merry-go-round, it just one day might stop on you. So you can't quit. You got to keep going, and if
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
work at Walmart or Zellers in the meantime, you do what you got to do. I had 2 babies, and you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're
you do.
only human.
You evaluate your life differently too when things like that happen in your
Oh
life.
man.
You start to go like, I just want to be with the people that I love. Like, that's really it.
Yeah, and people that appreciate you, and the just the bang in the head every day against someone who I respected everyone in the Headpins, but I felt that there wasn't a lot of respect coming back to me. And I mean, I kind of get that in some sense, but I think they forgot that I'd already done a solo project. I'd already achieved things that um, 90% of the people that try don't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they just thought I'd just crumble and die, and they didn't think that it was
Yeah.
a wise decision for me to now realizing that life isn't forever, and I almost lost my husband at that point. It was of 27, 28 years. We're now, or more than that, we're now at 30. This will be our 37th wedding anniversary this year. So
Wow.
it's like life without him. Um, it was like, no, I'm struggling with what I do every day with my job, and that's what it kind of ended up being, as a job, and that's not what your passion should be. Your passion shouldn't turn into your job. And
Right.
Yeah.
so yeah, just all those things happening, it was just, it's time to rekindle that, and take it away from being your job and start, make it your passion again, which meant being the leader, which isn't a great moniker to carry. It means you have to make sure the bills are paid. It means you have to make sure that everybody's happy and stays. It means, you know, all the means you have to make sure the flights are booked. You have to make sure the hotels are. It's a huge responsibility that you take on when you put that big L on your forehead, leader. Um,
Right.
No kidding.
but it's, you can't sit and bitch at somebody else doing a bad job if you're not willing to take that on yourself, and that was playing on me as well. So it's like, okay, so if I'm not happy here, then put your money where your mouth is, and go do this. And I just think they thought I was wasting my time by attempting this on my own.
Right.
But I knew I'd already done it once or twice or three times, and
Yeah.
it was time. It was
Yeah.
time. I figure I gave my voice 10 years in 2016 before I couldn't handle those songs anymore. And we are now, thanks to COVID, 2 years short of that 10 years that I don't get to
Yeah.
do all those things. So I'm hoping this rehearsal that we had last weekend, first one in a year, was interesting. Learning how far down the rabbit hole we'd all fallen by not. I mean, you can only practice in your basement so many times before you lose the dream. You know, are we ever
Well,
going to
then
play
Totally.
again? Right?
the touch of other energies too, right?
And
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm 5, 6 hours away from everyone else in the band. So, and no, you can't just do a jam or whatever on Zoom. It's not. That's
No.
not. Yeah, that's not being in a band. That's not
Right.
it.
No. No. No.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
yeah, so this coming out of this pandemic is going to be an eye opener for, I think, more people than people realize. And the cream will rise to the crop, or to the top, and we're hoping to do that, even though we now actually have more changes to make and announce in the next couple of weeks. But that's, change is part of life. You can't get
Yeah.
away from it.
Right.
It's always going to happen. So embrace it and jump on that
It's yeah.
beanie bag and go.
Yeah. It's funny. Change is the only thing that's constant. So
That's right. So you
Exactly.
gotta deal with it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So your 2018 Darby Mills project. I listened to that and I'm like, forgive me, but it's so, you've captured that 80s sound, but and it made it enhanced. If people are Darby Mills fans here tonight and have not heard the Darby Mills project,
Oh yeah. You gotta
go
check it
listen
out. It's
to it.
awesome.
It's just like, it is a big piece of happiness, a slice of memory lane, and I mean the songs are good, the production is awesome.
Yeah. But
Uh,
it's new. It is in a new
yeah,
way for sure. Yeah.
it's in a new way, and I hate to say it's like retro 80s, but it so captures that spirit that
Well,
you
you know
know.
what? Truth be told, and it's written right on the new packaging, that CD is actually the Never Look Back CD that I did as my first solo project, actually my second solo project, um, for Warner Music here in Canada. My first solo project was for MCA in Los Angeles. They sent me over to London, and I recorded at Ridge Farm Studio and Eel Pie, which is Pete Townsend's studio. And I had Greg Walsh as the producer. He was involved in the Tina Turner Private Dancer album, and I had Tony Levin on bass, and I flew over a drummer from Los Angeles. Red Seven was the name of his band. He came and played drums on the 6 tracks that I did. Um, Mike and the Mechanics backup singers came in and did some Bee Gees on it, and I had the conga player and charenge player from Santana played on it, and
Wow.
and there again we go back to what the record company wants you to do. So they're like, Jody Watley's the artist of the day, let's do a dance album. So even though it really wasn't a dance album, it was not a Headpin album by any stretch of the imagination. And I came home. I was over there for I think 6 weeks. I came home to get some more songs written, and the A&R man that had signed the Headpins, and when I got fired from the Headpins, retained me to the contract, not Brian, which was asinine to me, but I wasn't going to fight it. So that was my first solo deal. That's what I found out the same minute I found out I'd been released from my singing duties as the front person for the Headpins. I was told, but the good news is you still have a record contract, and you're going to LA, and then you're going to London. So over there, it was like bang, bang, bang. Over there, I went and did this, came home, and I got a phone call from Eel Pie Studios saying, we can't get in touch with anybody at MCA. And it's like, well, that's odd. You know, we'll call down and find out, because I was supposed to go back. I had another month booked at Eel Pie. And turns out the A&R man that retained me had been let go. They had a new A&R man, and he had to make a choice between breaking someone else's artist or breaking an artist that he discovered, who was Tiffany. So I lost my deal to Tiffany and came home, and then ended up losing my management deal to Sam Feldman, or with Sam Feldman. And yeah, it took about 5 months to sleep, and then started it up again. Put a couple, 3-4 bands together. Put a band together for Expo, because Expo was in 2086, the year after I'd been fired. That was a full horn band, very different, back to like the New York band that I was in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been I've been kind of a ping pong ball, but what else am I going to do? This is a passion.
What happened with the recordings in the UK?
I'm assuming it's in a vault somewhere.
Oh,
Wow. Hey.
Did you re-record any of those songs, or there's some still unheard? So they're all unheard, unreleased material.
There, some crafty people have kind of found versions of them. They were never mixed for a final record, right? Because we hadn't finished the record yet. So they were in imperfect form, but supposedly there's copies somewhere floating around, individual downloads, or whatever you want to call it, but it never made it to an actual CD. It was only just on tape. And as a matter of fact, the copy I brought home was on a format that never took off. But Greg Walsh was pretty convinced F1 format was going to be the new, turned out to be digital.
Right.
And so the only copy I have of it is of a miniature beta cassette, which is called an F1. And I've searched many times to try and find an F1 player. The only two that I found were broken and wouldn't play. So I have a copy of it, but it's never been played.
Well, let's join the hunt for the F1 player.
No.
I have a DAT. I have a DAT player.
Oh, pardon me. Digital wasn't what was next. It was between DAT and F1, and DAT won out.
Oh, okay. Kind of like VHS beta.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the 2018 record is a culmination of past works, or was that a specific project that you went in?
So then 5 years goes by, and I get my deal with Warner Music Canada, and we go into the studio and record the album, or the CD, Never Look Back. I toured across the country with Lee Aaron for like a month and a half. That's it. Yeah. And got 4 singles out of that, and sold approximately 35,000 copies. Hard copies that people had to walk into a store to buy, not
Yeah,
download.
right.
It was a
Yeah.
hard copy. You know, the old days when you went and looked at records and CDs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that just didn't meet their specs. They were pretty sure I was going to go gold and above, and it didn't. So my 3-album deal was canceled, and it was at that point that I said, maybe it's time that I've been married 10 years, that I settle down, have a family, and quit this nonsense. Because if I can't make it with what I've done over the past 5 years, then maybe that's just not my destiny. So I guess you can say I gave up at that time, but I just changed my focus to family, and did in fact have our first child right away. Surprise! And that's when the second, third version of the headpins kind of came out of the blue by accident, and I worked with that version of the headpins for the next 26 years, and then decided we've been playing the same songs since 2080 or 1980, and then my mom and Brian, and it was time for a change. Time
Right.
to be an adult.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much great stuff on the internet, like the little Tellus video
Mm.
that you did, and that probably was around the release of the Darby Mills project. Am I correct there?
That all happened. That was just crazy. Actually, I had given a 1-year notice to the headpins, because I know that there were shows booked, and I didn't want to walk out on them. So I figured a year's notice was pretty good. And that year was a real interesting year, I got to tell you. But during that time, I was driving to Vancouver every second Saturday to rehearse and audition members, and we got the first version of the band up and running. And then every second Saturday I'd drive to Vancouver, and we'd get a 4-hour rehearsal in, and I'd drive home. And that's when Never Look Back, I realized that here I have, for 36 years, I've been playing the same 13 headpin songs, 14 headpin songs, and yet Never Look Back, now that I'm starting my own thing and all that driving, I was throwing the Never Look Back CD in the car going, this has held its own. It's 80s or 90s, actually, because it was recorded in 1990. But the songs are strong, the musicians are strong, the production is strong. If I can tour 13 headpin songs for 36 years, I can go back and retour, give these songs the opportunity that they never had, because they only got 1 year on the road and basically 1 year on the radio. So I kind of asked around, thinking how many people thought that was a good idea. And in the meantime, guess what? Heart's re-releasing some of their first CDs, and there was another act at the time doing it. And I'm like, you know what? To hell, I'm doing it. I went into the studio and I had Tony Delacroce come in, and he added some subsonics, which gives the bottom end that didn't exist on the Never Look Back record, because woofers back in those days were in the back of hipsters' cars. They weren't in your phone. Now woofers and subsonics you can hear that on your phone. So it's like, let's bring that in. That's what's been added to music in the past 25 years. So let's incorporate a little bit of that into this if we can. And he did a wonderful job. And it came out as Flying Solo. Originally, it was supposed to come out as solo, but a numerologist happened to trip and stumble into my life right at the same time I was doing all of this.
Awesome.
And she said, that's the wrong numbers. You can't call it solo. You have to call it something else. So I went, how about I've just left the band. I'm flying solo. She's like, tick, 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 tick. Perfect. It's full of eights. That's what you got to call it. So Flying Solo was born and re-released, and it sold really well for me out of my basement. And in the meantime, I got a worldwide distribution deal from True North or their affiliate. And so that's the story on why Never Look Back became Flying Solo. And I got to say, those songs that you say have an 80s essence, it's like, no, they're totally from that era. They were
Okay.
recorded in that era.
All right.
And
Perfect. Yeah.
they're meant for people that like to listen to that era of music, and that's what we do. So
Yeah.
simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Tina Turner earlier, and I think that you could be Canada's Tina Turner. If some guy out there or woman with a vision that works for a company that goes, instead of looking at what the bottom line could be, look at the person who could make the bottom line what it could be, and they go, this is going to be Canada's Tina Turner, and she's going to have a long career.
Well, I'm old enough to be Canada's Tina Turner.
Exactly,
That's
right?
for sure.
Yeah. So here's I know we've kept you here for a while, but this is just something that's kind of curious to me. And this is a totally what if question, and if it's, you don't have to answer it, because you can just say, I choose the full meal deal, right? Headpins come back to you and go, look, we want to do another record, and we feel it's the time, and we're going to do a tour, and we want to have the Headpins reunite. Would you go yes, or would you go, no, wait a sec, guys, I'm getting ready to do the Darby Mills project, and I can't do that? Or would you go, I'm gonna do both?
Well, they have a new singer, right? So they don't need me.
But there could be like the reunion.
The original.
Yeah.
The original.
Well, and McLeod's dead, so the original band can never happen again. That's just a fact. I don't know. We'd have to see where the headspaces were of everyone in the room.
Yeah. But as you look forward to things opening up with the pandemic, hopefully winding down, if we play our cards right and everybody continues to adhere to guidelines that are helping us to reach the goals of reopening, you're planning to do more of your Darby Mills project?
Oh, we've already got shows rebooked. Yeah, there's some of the shows from 2020 have connected again, and they're not till 22, but that's okay. I'm so nervous about losing money that I don't have to lose. Number one, if you book 6-8 flights to get to a show and then find out that they've changed the restrictions and you got a quarantine, or perhaps you have somebody that's not vaccinated in your band, or something odd happens, you don't get that money back. I don't have that money to spend right now. And with the decisions changing on a daily basis on what is okay and what's not okay, we're going to do some work, but I think it's a lot safer to think about doing work in 2020. So we've had the rest of this year to figure out if there's a fourth wave coming, or fifth, depending where you live. And it's a scary time.
Yeah.
Clubs and venues and concerts, like, you have to invest a lot of money before anything even, before anything happens. And people have to start feeling a little bit more secure, I think, in dropping that kind of cash to have events happen when tomorrow the doctor gets on the news and says, there's been another pandemic, we're up to 600 a day and everything's shut down.
It's true. Yeah. It's too risky. Right. It's too risky.
It's a huge risk, and it's a risk that I don't have the finances, after not working for as long as I have, to to take that chance, even though we have
Yeah.
shows, a couple of shows booked later on in this year. And I also have a local project that I've been working since 18, rehearsing since 2018, that we haven't had a chance to play anywhere, which is a totally different vein for me. As I've mentioned my age a couple times on here, I am getting older, and this poor old thing has given me my whole life so far, and to expect it at 65 and 70 years old to deliver, I think that's really unfair of me to ask that of my poor throat. So I'm
You know what though,
preparing.
if I could interject though, like when I see you, because I watched your stuff from the 80s and I watched some of the stuff more recently, some of the outdoor concerts that you have on YouTube. Your voice, the way you sing to me sounds like, you know, it's really takes a lot of effort, but yet you make it look effortless.
Yeah, you
And
do. My
it's just
God.
the sound of your voice. So is it really, is it a technical thing that you fear you're going to lose, or is it just the whole
How I
essence of?
sing, how I sing is different than a lot of singers. I'm not unique in my approach to singing, but I'm not a typical singer. I was told early on I would never last by particular vocal teachers that I tried. I'd go in and take a lesson and be like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work for me. I disagree with your approach, which they didn't think I should yell. It's like, that's how I got the job. It's because I yell. So um, what I do, and the reason why I've been able to, I think, hold my voice, because I really don't do anything special for it, is I sing not from my diaphragm, not from my throat. I sing from my hips. I bring up air from my feet if I could. So I push a lot of air through this. So even if it's got nodes and it's sore, it can still somewhat handle. But
Yeah.
it's that kind of energy as you age that you just, to muster up, just takes a lot out of you. And taking 2 years off
Right.
at this stage of my vocal abilities is brutal.
Yeah.
I've likened it to, you're a marathon runner and your country says, guess what? Pandemics happened. There's no more marathons, but go in your basement studio and run on the treadmill every day. And then, oh, guess what? There's a marathon on Thursday. See you
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're running,
Right.
but you're not running. You're not. I move a lot on stage. Doing that in my basement, I have no interest in trying to put
Yeah.
on a show in my basement. But I do work out 3 times a week. I walk 15K a week. I'm trying to stay in shape, but it's a different ball game when you get up on that stage. So
Yeah.
running and singing in the method that I do is not going to last forever. I know
Mhm.
that. I appreciate
Right.
that
Have you
fact.
But
have you thought of? Sorry, we have so many questions.
yeah, I would look how long
Wait,
we're going to.
I know we're going way too long. Sorry, Darby. But have you thought
I'm gonna
about?
run out of battery on my poor old phone here too.
Oh no.
I've got 12% left, so
Okay,
we'll
okay,
try
So
and
we're
do
almost done.
if she goes black, don't take it personal.
Okay,
Go
okay,
ahead.
okay.
that.
So, have you thought about just doing a different,
Well,
like Janis
that's what the
Joplin
local
singing, "Oh Lord, won't you buy me?" Like just more of a gentler kind of album.
the
Oh,
side project that I have here in Vernon is called Press Play. In other words, get out your cassette, put it in your tape deck, and press play. So it's all songs from the late 60s and 70s and just a tad into the 80s. Stuff that you would not expect me to be singing, but stuff that
Mhm.
your big brother and sister would listen to on the AM radio, that's all we had when we
right.
were kids living in a small community such as Vernon. So I'm really excited about Press Play. We
Yeah.
have 40 songs in the bag right now,
Oh wow.
and they're really, really different. I sing the whole night sitting down, so
Hmm.
totally different for
Totally
me.
different
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I don't want to
You
say any of the songs because the players I've got are all more qualified than I am. I am just so thrilled to be working with this
That's
caliber
awesome.
That's
of
awesome.
local musician that's waiting to get back to work. But they've all said to me at one point or another in this year and a half of rehearsing, Darby, nobody's playing this stuff. We are so in our own lane here. We just can't wait to get out. And the intention is to take this to the wineries, which we have a few of in the Okanagan, and also that the 50-seater shows were probably going to be the only show, so we thought, running for the next year or 2 years. So we thought, perfect, this is the type of tune you can sit down with a glass, set list, you can sit down with a glass of wine and your hubby or your friends, not have to get up and dance, because dancing is still not allowed, and just close your eyes and have these songs take you back to, oh my God, I haven't
Yeah.
heard this. And oh, I remember this song. So yeah, I'm really pumped about the fact that I'm doing these. They're bringing back memories long forgotten for me. I went to a ladies' pool party with my 50-plus-year-old girlfriends and played the set list for them. And there wasn't one song that someone didn't look at me and go, oh my God, Darby. Oh my God. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's lots of things on the table, but in this business, in this day and age, there's no longer 20 shows in 20 clubs in Vancouver that you can play the rounds and never have to leave town for the year or 2 months before you got to go on the road. That doesn't exist anymore. That will never exist again, in my
Probably
No,
not.
opinion.
you're right.
I
No.
am
Probably.
so glad I was born and raised to appreciate the late 70s and the 80s of
Absolutely.
music.
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
There's nothing
absolutely.
like it.
Never again.
We got that. So yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but I just want to say, people that are watching the show now or as it airs through the week and stuff, check out go on YouTube and check out the Tellus video is called The Queen of Scream. Did they call it that?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it's on TELUS on demand, or you
Yeah.
can go to my website,
Yeah.
darbymills.com,
Yeah.
and look on the project page and all our videos. We've shot a bunch of videos. The new medley we did, we were getting bugged constantly. Why aren't you playing Breaking Down? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And it's like, because we're not the Headpins. You're not, you know,
Right.
go see the Headpins if you want to see all those songs. I'm doing my favorites, and so COVID struck, and we had an opportunity to get a rehearsal in, and the boys in the band said, Darby, why fight it? Why don't we put a medley together? So basically, for the project now in our set, we do those 13 songs that I've been doing for 26 years with their 36 years with the Headpins in a far tighter capacity, and still get to play all the originals and the wonderful cover songs that we do. So it's a full 90-minute set with probably, I think it's 20 some songs that we do in our 90-minute set now. So, or well,
Oh,
hopefully we'll get to do, because we haven't played it
Yeah.
because of COVID. So
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely gonna come see you next time I get the chance.
awesome.
You know, on
Absolutely.
my personal Facebook page, every Tuesday I put out a post of who's coming on the Green Room, and you know, I occasionally go check and see, oh, this many views. But it occurred to me this week that when I click on it, it's like hearts, 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 hearts. So there's a lot of love for you out there.
Oh, no kidding, Darby.
And tonight, even just looking at the comments that we've received, if we can just go through these quickly before we go, starting with Todd Arnold, who's a singer in a local band here. I love this woman, right on. And the next one's Darren Minnesota. Do you remember Darren?
I do.
Darby, I have not seen you since I had you on the Poison, Vince Neil, and Headpin tour. You are looking fantastic. We've had Darren on. He's an awesome guy too.
Yeah.
Oh, we got more new comments coming in here. Todd Arnold again. You don't need anybody see you in Regina. Peggy Metternach. So nice to listen to Darby's story. Growing up in Ontario, her amazing voice was foremost in the music industry at that time. A powerhouse who deserves so much more. Thank you for the amazing music and incredible memories. Steve Denyer, you should play a show together in Vancouver. He's talking about us because we've talked to Steve about playing some dates. And Warren Medenak, talk about perseverance. Very interesting to hear Darby talk about the behind the scenes history of an amazing Canadian rock band.
Oh, and Andrew Aldridge, who's a guitar player with.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
Behind the scenes history of an amazing Canadian rock band. Great show. Everyone looking forward to seeing Darby live in the future. And Andrew Aldridge, who played guitar with us.
And he also
Hi,
plays
guys.
with. He's played with Ron Sexsmith.
Ron Sexsmith, Sarah Celine, all kinds of
Yeah.
people. I grew up on those Headpins records, and Too Loud, big influence on me. Darby is a queen. So
awesome.
It was very special for us tonight to be able to talk with you and get to know you a bit better. And
It's amazing.
it was a lot of fun. Time just flew. I think this is like one of the
I
longer
think it's our
shows we've
longer
done. And
show.
it seems like it just started. There's so much more we could talk about.
I know.
I have no problem talking. I tend to take interviews way long. I apologize.
No, we're thrilled.
No, it makes it so much easier for us. And you do have a story to tell. And I saw somewhere too that you're writing it down and you're actually going to maybe put out a book about this.
I know.
Are you going to do that?
I'm not as far as I know, but I had a girlfriend once back when it all came crashing down and I was crying on anyone's shoulder who would listen. And she said, Darby, shut up. Nobody cares. Get on with your life. And those words have stuck with me. So even though I do have a girlfriend who has a photographic memory and she could probably write a 7,000-page book about the crap that's gone on around myself and people in this industry. But, the documentary was great. I had a chance to get some stuff off my chest there. And the lady that edited it, Melinda, did a wonderful job keeping it positive. Going down the rabbit hole sometimes you got to do just to get it off your chest. But you know what? It is the music business, and put on your big girl panties, and that merry-go-round, as long as you stay on it, one day it might stop on you. So
yeah,
going forward.
Yeah,
awesome.
Totally.
Well, we can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Darby, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, and hopefully the gods will rain upon us and give me an opportunity to come there and play. It's been 7 years, I believe. I think it's time.
Wow.
Hopefully the skies will open and I'll get a chance to come to the prairies and play again.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. We
awesome.
would be thrilled.
Yeah,
you
would be welcomed and loved. So
yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's not up to the band unless they turn down the show. We have to be asked to come. So venues, if you're listening, we're here. We're dying to get back. So
exactly.
Darren, Minnesota will have you back. I bet you in a heartbeat. So
thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Darby.
Yeah. Good night. Good day. That was fun.
Oh, that was so much fun. Yeah. That was awesome. I loved that. Love her. She's just okay.
But yeah, perseverance, drive, the whole thing that we always touch on about artists who want to do it. They just find a way to do it.
No kidding.
Being a musician and a singer or a songwriter is your full-time job. And then you got to have a second full-time job just to pay the bills sometimes.
No,
so it's
exactly. So we want to thank our sponsors tonight, Field Fox Gardens and Cookery. Order that lasagna at fieldfox.ca, and Christy Weiss Bookkeeping and PST Consulting Services. Give Christy a call and she'll help you out. And please subscribe and follow No YXE on YouTube and on Facebook. And that's about it.
I got nothing except that was so much fun.
That was so much fun. And thank you, Darby Mills, for coming on the show tonight. That was just a thrill for us. Yeah. So, and we're going to promote other No YXE shows right now. Be sure to tune in to.
I could pee so bad.
Do you? Oh my. Okay. No. Oh, YXE Sports Podcast Mondays at 6:00 p.m. Let's chat Tuesday at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Sports Line Thursday at 12:15. I remember at 12:15. In Focus YXE Thursday at 7 p.m. and Slow TV YXE Sunday at 10 a.m. for your chill Sunday. If you're an artist and you have something coming up, be sure to email us at NoYXE. The Green Room. Green Room. Oh, no, yeah. Email us at the Green Room YXE at noyxe.com. Everybody have a great week. Keep rocking and rolling. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m.